There's a lot of people who are scared to put themselves out there. That was me before I posted on Twitter. Let's be honest, when we're all dead and buried in 70, 80 years' time, no one's going to give a fuck. Put your content out there. I didn't think I'd be here 3 years ago with a full roster of clients. It's a good spot to be in.
You take a no bullshit approach to fitness, not just in your personal life, but also when it comes to your coaching business. How important do you think it is for you to be tackling the fundamentals on a regular basis from a leadership standpoint so that you can set the right example for your clients and all the people who follow you?
Well, I think the first thing, especially with the coaching business, I have to set an example. So by the way I live my own life, I can't. I actually tweeted about this the other day. I can't expect my clients to do everything they need to do in the gym and outside of the gym, from a nutrition recovery standpoint, and actually training hard when they turn up the gym. I can't expect them to do that if I don't do that. If I haven't led by example. I've been doing this for a long time. We're coming up to 13 years I've been doing this. So that is the fundamental pillar of a lot of my coaching. It's just, look, I will do the same thing. I wouldn't ask you to do it if I wouldn't do it. And this is what we need in order to get results. I'm not going to sell anyone any 60-day gimmicks, anything like that. It's all centered around hard, consistent, disciplined work over a long period of time. And as I say, because I've done that, that's the message I always get across to everybody, and that's why I think a lot of people buy into that message.
Your grandfather put you in kickboxing when you were 6. And I know you played a lot of soccer growing up, Call of Duty, and then you were a competitive power lifter. So I'm curious, how does competition play a role in success? And is that one of the fundamentals that you think is necessary for people to really thrive?
Yeah, I think especially as a young man growing up as well. Everybody said, coming from a city of where I come from, of Liverpool as well, which it's a very football or soccer dominant city, as you say. So competitiveness was there from an early age, being around my friends. I've also got a younger brother, so coming up within a pretty masculine environment, it was always there. And I think as I've gotten older, it's went through different stages of life. So it was kickboxing and football at first, and then I started playing Call of Duty, and I was just obsessed with that. It's very competitive on that, and then it went into things like powerlifting again, and you become competitive, and now more so the bodybuilding pursuit. So it's just you're always looking for an outlet for that competitiveness. It's always there. I think for anybody listening will understand this, but coming from playing a lot of Call of Duty growing up, you level up your own character with things outside of video games. Of course, when you level up your own personal character in real life, that's an achievement in itself. So I always tell that to people. If a lot of people have a background in video games as well, if you come into real life and level up your own character, in the gym, your finances, relationships, business, everything, it's your own real life character to level up. And again, having that competitive nature and wanting to be the best that you can be. And obviously, let's face it, we are men. We want to be superior than some other people. So there's nothing wrong with a bit of competitive drive. And I think that's what's, especially in today's society, that they try to shun that. And I think it's wrong.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that's inherent within men. And you look at some of the most powerful men in the world, and they're just ruthlessly competitive, and to a fault sometimes. But you have to be able to harness that. And that is some of the most powerful engines to propel us to actually achieve what we want to. And we have a lot of similarities in terms of I grew up playing football. I grew up on football. I know I said soccer, so my dad's from England. We talked about that, and also big video gamer. Didn't play Call of Duty. I was into Counter-Strike, but also very competitive guy. And when COVID happened, you were an in-person fitness coach, right? You were dealing with people in the gym. Obviously, that all got closed down. So again, like that competitive element, you weren't just going to let things roll over And so you had to figure out, how am I going to take this business online? How am I going to make something happen here? This is not an easy situation, but we have to make it work. So what were some of the first things that you did when you knew that you had to move everything offline, online, and start creating there?
Yeah, so COVID was the catalyst for a lot of things, and the actual the catalyst for it was being with the gyms being closed down in person, and obviously I couldn't earn money. I got forced into a corner. Now I always say a lot of people will do their best work, and you will find out what you're made of when you are pushed into a corner, and that was the case with me. I had to do something because I had no income. So then it was just that I've been on Twitter for a long time, but not posting. I used to just lurk in the shadows, one of those accounts following, hundreds of people, and I must have had 20 followers. I didn't post, I was just lurking. So I was aware of Twitter, and I'd been on the scene for a year following people. So I knew some of the big fitness accounts and what they were tweeting out and how they were going about it. And I just thought, I just had enough of just lurking in the shadows, and I thought I've got a lot of experience and good information that I can give out to help people. I'm just going to start letting my content rip online, and I'm going to make something of this, and I'm gonna eventually. I don't know how I'm going to make money online, but that was the initial start point. I wanted to start creating a personal brand. I had no idea about the potential of coaching or selling ebooks or anything that was out there. I had no idea. I just wanted to build an audience and then take it from there. And that was the first step.
So you didn't necessarily think, I want to start building an online coaching business. It was just, I need to create something and get awareness for myself. Or did you have monetization kind of in the back of your head?
I didn't know, like in particular, what exactly the route I could go down, how to make money, but I wanted to start creating an audience in order to monetize at some point. But I didn't know, basically, where I am now. I didn't think I'd be here. In that COVID time, I didn't know that I'd have how the coaching would operate. I just thought, look, I'm gonna try and build an audience, and whatever comes from that, I thought I could make money with ads, or I had no idea. I just wanted to just create a following, put some good information out there, and then just basically wing it and see how we went. And I've told the story numerous times before of when I posted my transformation pictures when I went on a diet, and I lost, a lot of body fat, and I got lean, and the pictures blew up overnight. Gained like 3,000 followers in literally 24 hours. My Twitter exploded from like 2K followers to 4+K followers overnight, and I just got a lot of coaching inquiries, and that was the light bulb moment. I'd been on Twitter for a little while before that happened, but that was the initial big boom that I needed, and that was the moment.
Yeah, you did something really clever. I heard you talk about where, once it started to go viral, you threw a Google Doc underneath it as like a second post, and you were just like, "Hey, sign up here if you need coaching," right? And you landed your first couple clients that way. Um, is that how are you landing clients now? Is it a lot of it through Twitter? Are there other avenues, or is it word of mouth? Do you get on calls with people? Like, what's the inbound outbound look like? Take me through that.
As of right now, I'm the busiest I've ever been with clients, and I've actually got a waiting list. I can't right now. I can't take on it anymore. I have to limit the amount of people I can work with at once, because with a coaching service, the quality of service that you deliver to people, that's very important. And I know a lot of coaches will look at it like a numbers game, but you can't do that if you're trying to offer a good service. So in terms of how it works for me now, every week I get multiple inquiries, whether it be through Twitter DMs, word of mouth from a lot of clients that I currently work with. They always recommend me. People sign up on my website to calendar calls. It's from multiple different avenues. I get inquiries, but I have a waiting list now of people. I have them all saved on my WhatsApp. So I didn't think I'd be here 3 years ago, basically with a full roster of clients and a waiting list, and an ever growing social media platform. It's a good spot to be in.
Hell yeah, bro. That's awesome. I'm really happy for you. I mean, that must be such a nice spot where you don't really have to work. Oh, you have to work really hard on the business, but you don't really have to work that hard to get people to come through the door. You can get to choose who you want to work with almost. And, would you ever bring on people under you? to kind of expand the business? Have you thought about that?
There's multiple different avenues I could potentially go down, and a lot of people in my situation might just get comfortable and might think, "Oh, I'm happy with this. I'm earning X amount per month. I'm doing this." But there's always there's always that lingering fear with me. I want more. I'm never just where I am now. It's a good position. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy, but there's always, okay, we're here now, but I want more. I want the next step. So how can I then continue to offer a good service and maybe bring on more people? So there's different ways I can go about things. I could potentially offer group coaching where I can work with more people at once. I could potentially bring on people underneath me, but they would have to be the right fit, and I don't think that would be anytime soon. That would be years in the future. But I'm always thinking of ways that I can propel the business forward. I'm never satisfied.
Yeah. And I think like when people know you from your personal brand, they probably want to work with you in particular. Like that's part of the draw. Um, I want to go back to something you said about just starting online and kind of not really knowing what the end goal was very specifically, but just being able to like put yourself out there and iterate and just try new things. You talked about when you even first got in the gym back when you were a teenager, like you, for the first year, I think you did the same exercises like every day for like a
Yeah.
year. And so you just had to like go in there and just show up, try, work, and have a kind of a longer term vision. And then you'll figure out the nuances and what ends up being the best fit for you. How did that play? You know, do you see parallels there between when you first started in the gym and when you first started with content and just having a focus on like a bigger goal?
Yeah, well, it's funny when you put it like that. It's basically identical. It's like you go in the gym and you just get in there and you will learn as you go. It was the same with content. It was just start posting consistently, never miss a day. The first year of when I jumped on Twitter, I had 4 tweets. That was my go to. 4 tweets every day, non-negotiable. It didn't matter how many likes or retweets or engagement it got. There was plenty of days I come on and tweeted and no one cared, but I just kept coming on every day, every single day, 4 tweets and a couple of threads running every now and then, and things started to get traction, and then you grow it. It's the same in the gym. You come in, you make some mistakes, you start to see a bicep vein coming through, a little bit of better shape after 6-7 months. It all creeps in slowly, but it doesn't happen if you're not extremely consistent and just ruthless with the execution. And again, I tweeted on this last week. There's a lot of people who are scared to put themselves out there on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it may be, social media. Too many people are scared to put themselves out there. That was me before I posted on Twitter. I wouldn't post on nothing. I had my Instagram private at one point. It was just, I was just so fearful of what everybody would think. But you can't live your life crippled in fear like that, because ultimately nobody really cares what about us. Let's be honest. When we're all dead and buried in 70, 80 years time, no one's gonna give a fuck. Put your content out there and let it rip with full confidence, because we are only here for a short time. So don't live crippled in fear and let people's opinions if you cripple you, and then you live a life that you don't want to live because of that. Just let your shit fly. And that, again, the light bulb moment when I finally just stopped giving a fuck what everybody thought and started posting the content. Again, it's been 3 years in the making where I am now, but that was one of the big switches as well.
You know, I really resonate with that. And like you hear that a lot where it's like, just go for it. You only live once and all that. But like when you get to a certain age or you get to a certain point in your business or you just have this sense of urgency and you're just like, yeah, you know what? Fuck it. Like, who cares, man? Just put it out there. And I do this with every guest pretty much. I go back and look at their first tweet ever. Now, I don't know if you've cleaned up the early part of your timeline, but the first tweet that I could find from you was actually a video of you deadlifting, I think about 550 pounds 3 times, which is obviously epic. Your video content is super cool to this day. And it's obviously been refined a lot. You have a lot where you do voiceovers, where you're just kind of, using a machine and maybe walking people through certain techniques or form, or, how high to have your hands and things like that. And then you'll also have videos where you're just talking to the camera with subtitles, just harping on a specific point or trying to get across, something that's been on your mind. What is your video strategy? How important do you think video is, especially on Twitter, for building trust and authority? And where do you get all your ideas for that?
That's a very good question. So I think the way the world is going now, I think video content is going to be huge over the next couple of years. I really do, especially if you're trying to create a brand. I think it gives you a sense of trust, and people can really they can buy into you a lot better than just words on a screen. So I do think being comfortable on camera, I think it's a power play at this day and age. But the way I go about my video content creation, the strategy for it, it's sometimes I go to the gym with my girlfriend and I will just ask her to record a video of me talking. If I have something that comes to my head while I'm training, we will go to the part of the gym where it's a little bit quiet, and I will say, look, just hit record because there's a lot of background noise and people. So I just record this. I've got something to say, and before you know it, the end of the week, I may have 2 or 3 videos all logged in, and then I'll start putting all the captions in. I still do my own editing, and obviously my girlfriend helps me, but I do a lot of the actual the groundwork for all of that stuff. The video demonstration stuff, sometimes I batch create a lot of that when I have like a deload week in the gym. So a deload week is a week where it's a little bit easier. I back off the volume and intensity. So I have more time to actually create like demonstrations and videos on tips and tricks, what people do wrong. So I batch create some of those videos and I have all of them saved. But some of my favorite videos are the ones where I just talk into the camera and I let it rip off something that's coming to my head while I'm training. I really like those ones. So I think it's good to have different styles of videos, and ultimately people get to see you as a person. As I say, I think people really buy into that.
That's like such a foundational piece of building a personal brand. And I think that on Twitter, video is super underutilized. And I've mentioned it to you before, just how much I admire the way that you use video. And I've also found the same thing, is that some of my favorite posts are the ones where I'm just walking down the street and I just think of something, or I was listening to a podcast and I was like, oh, I kind of like have ideas around that. And then I'll just throw up like the camera and just start walking and talking. And those get really good feedback. And they may not be the ones that go viral. Sometimes they do well, sometimes they don't, but it builds a really strong connection with the people that watch, and they really see like who you are and how you think. And it just brings you a lot more in touch with them. You also mentioned earlier about, you throw a couple threads in there every once in a while. I looked at, I think Twemex, I don't know how to pronounce it, Twemex, the plugin for Twitter, and you can see people's like top posts and stuff. And I went on yours, and a lot of your top stuff is, out of the very few threads that you've written, they pretty much all went viral and like thousands of likes. Why don't you write more threads, man? They're killing it.
I know I had a lot of success with threads when I used to create them, but I've got a few that are stocked and ready to go. I would say over the last 6 months, I've focused a lot more of my time and effort on video content. I think that's where I've been shifting. It's more I'm coming away from threads and more video content. Maybe I need to get some more threads back in there, but that was a big part of my Twitter growth. I was very good at writing threads. I think that helped with me with going to university as well and getting a degree in sports science. I've always been good at writing what's in my head. I can write it down very well. I'm just very, very logical with that. With numbers and all of that stuff, math, that's not for me. But actually writing things down and expressing things, that I'm very good at that. And I think that was what people could. People always say that I tweet the way I talk, and it's the same with my threads. I don't have a robotic voice or anything like that. I just say how it is, and again, I think that's what comes through when people read my tweets, watch the videos. They just see that it's me, and again, I think people just buy into that.
Yeah, I love your tweets and your threads. You mentioned it; they're good for growth, right? I think maybe where you're at, like, you guys, I guess you just have to choose between what you're going for. Like the video, like we said, is kind of like building the authority and the connection. And you probably land a lot of clients mostly because of your videos, and it just shows how professional and thoughtful you are in the gym. But if you're going for growth, those threads go super viral. And especially in your niche, you could pay like $600 or $900 and grab like a batch of like 20 or 30 retweets by larger accounts. And when I say 30, I mean like 6 guys, you've probably seen this, with like 200 or 300,000 will all retweet you at the same time. And that'll be one. And you can get like 30 of those. So that'll last you, 6 months maybe of threads for less than $1,000. And then your threads just go super viral. So because it's a lot of like masculine accounts and stuff. So your shit would do really well.
Yeah, but there's one caveat to that, which is I think a lot of people overlook, is that you don't want to be like everybody else. I know that sounds like super cliche, but everybody does that. Everybody gets bigger accounts to retweet their things, and they're in with these masculine anon accounts and all of that stuff. That's never been me. I have always just been, look, this is me. I don't pay for retweets. I'm not involved in engagement groups. Now, that is a fast way to grow, for sure. But I think you need to make a decision early on in your content creation game. Are you going to play the long haul and build a real personal brand that people are going to buy into? Or are you going to try and do it the fast way and make as much money as possible with buying retweets and all of this stuff? This is just my personal opinion on it. I think if you do it the slow way and you're very authentic, you may get less followers, but they're quality followers. Nobody wants 100,000 followers who are not interested, who are never going to buy anything from you anyway. I would much rather have 5 to 10k loyal followers who are really interested in me and are more likely to buy. Just buying retweets from other accounts for the sake of it, just to have followers, that's never appealed to me. So I think you have to be careful when you go down that route of, look, am I looking to just have more followers for the sake of it, or actually have quality followers? And someone who I've engaged with a lot on Twitter over the years is JK Melia, and he always says, likes ain't cash. So that's something to always keep in mind.
100%. Big fan of JK. And it's funny that I was the one that presented this, and you're saying, it's not really for me, because I have, you might not know this about me, but I started as a crypto account about a year and a half ago. And I only switched into more of like this personal growth, self-development stuff since February or March, actually. So it's been about 2.5 months. And I've gone viral maybe like 10 or 12 times since then. No buying of any retweets. It's been all organic, basically creating content around people and kind of enticing them to retweet my stuff, because I'm synthesizing some of their long form content, and then they share it because I did a good job condensing and curating their work. And so I always looked at kind of the people that bought retweets with like a side eye, kind of like, oh, their engagement's not as organic or not as good. And now I'm kind of like on the fence, where it's just like, it's definitely, you're right. The followers are not as high quality. I don't think they're as low quality as maybe like buying ads where you have like promoted, because it's people that are actually interested in the content that you wrote on like a long form thread. They're probably harder to sell to. You're right. And so there may be some vanity there in terms of just the number of followers, but who knows, maybe the more, if you have a certain number of followers, someone might buy from you just because you have more followers. So it's like a social signal. And then, so now I'm looking at it less of like, that's the cheap way to grow, and more of, it's just influencer marketing, instead of like, you're buying followers. So I'm kind of on the fence on it now. So, but I think there's a lot of different ways to look at it. But I wanted to ask you, since we're talking about video so much, you're also on Instagram, and you also have a YouTube channel. I don't see you talk about the YouTube that much on Twitter, but you're pretty consistent on there, and you're doing like whiteboard style videos. You've done, now moving a little more towards like the Loom style, where you have your face over the video with a screen share. What is kind of your strategy with Instagram and with YouTube and some of these other platforms?
So with the video I create for Twitter, I can post them on Instagram as well. So they cover both platforms. The YouTube content, that is that's more longer form content. That's where I would really get into the weeds and the nuts and bolts with some things, 10 to 20 minute videos. I don't do them all of the time because there's only so many ideas and much time that you've got. But when I do the YouTube videos, they are, as I say, longer form content where I'll go over something in depth. And I use YouTube as a learning resource for a lot of people. So if somebody has a question, more than likely I want to build my YouTube to a point where you can go on my channel and you can search the topic that you need on to do with training, and you're going to get a good video from me. That's what I'm trying to get that to. So that's, again, this goes back to the buying followers or buying retweets. I'm thinking 10, 20 years in the future for building what I'm building here. This is not, a quick rich, get quick rich scheme where I'm looking to make as much money in 2 or 3 years. It's not that. I'm thinking I want to put everything I put out, I want it to be quality. So in 10, 20 years time, you're gonna have built something very big, something massive, something very valuable. That's what I'm looking for. So yeah, basically I'm trying to make YouTube just a big learning resource library for all things training, proper training information. And then obviously Twitter and Instagram is more short form content, videos which are around a minute, 1 minute 30, just sharp videos. They're going to be more for Instagram and Twitter, but I'm just looking to try and build everything.
Interesting. So you just use it as kind of like, it can be kind of like a way to deepen your connection with people and build trust with them, even if they don't find you via YouTube. It's a place where if there's, maybe questions in your Twitter comments or in your Instagram comments, you can say, hey, I made a YouTube video on that. And it's like, oh, and then they go down the rabbit hole over there. And again, it just builds that trust with you. You engage a lot in the comments. You've answered pretty much every time I've ever commented, even before I invited you on the podcast. You answer like everybody's messages. How important do you think that is to connect with your audience in the replies on Twitter?
It's definitely a lot harder as you get bigger on Twitter. I try every day to, if someone gives me a decent question and they're not being an idiot, because there's a lot of trolls and I will just block them or just ignore them. But anyone who's asking a genuine question, if I have the time and I see it, I will always answer 90% of questions I get. I think it's important because it shows people that you're not just posting into the oblivion, and you never interact with followers, because there's a lot of big accounts who do that. They never interact, and it's like the account is just dead. There's just no one behind it, and I don't know. I don't think that's the way to go. I always try and set out some time every day to try and engage back with everybody. Obviously, some days it's less engagement than others. Some days I'm just busier than others, but I will always try and answer some questions. But that's something I might start doing. Is I was thinking about maybe having like a Q&A video on YouTube. So I could put a tweet out maybe a couple of times a week asking, look, I'm going to be making a YouTube video. Ask me some questions here. And the top 5 questions I'm going to answer on a video. That could be something that I could do very soon.
That would blow up. That would be, and that's really easy for you because you're saying like, there's only so many topics and stuff to talk about. Well, now people just give you topics, and it'll also drive, your most engaged audience into your YouTube funnel. That's a great idea. You should definitely do an AMA YouTube video. I'll definitely submit some questions for that for you. There's a lot of parallels that we're drawing between, I think, building your body and building your business or building your content base, whether, we talked about competition and just starting and all these types of things, fundamentals. But there's also a direct connection between building your body and building a business or having success. Can you talk about like healthy body, healthy mind, and like why people really need to be focused on their fitness?
I always say this, they're both very, very similar. To be successful in either fitness or business, it requires the same characteristics from a person. Someone needs to be very disciplined, very organized, and just do shit when you don't feel like it, because there's going to be days where I don't feel like training. There is going to be days I don't want to post content or record a video, or there is going to be days I don't want to check in with clients. We're all human. It happens to everybody. But I have a duty to do, and I have responsibility and work that must be done. So it will always get done no matter what. So in the terms of, if you're out of shape, you're not mentally healthy either, or eating the right foods, everything is all tied in together. If you're not functioning properly from a physical standpoint, you're not functioning properly from a mental standpoint. So that how can you build a business and, pour out into the world, creating content and helping people if you're not healthy yourself? It all starts with you. If you're not thriving, how can you help others thrive? So that's what I look at it. It's number one responsibility. You need to be in shape. You need to be eating healthy. You need to be sleeping properly. You need to be firing on all cylinders, so then you can get out into the world and help people. That's how it goes.
How about from a networking perspective? Have you noticed that when you walk into a room and you're in shape, it just commands respect because people know that you're a disciplined individual and that you're it's almost that you're more trustworthy, or there's something about somebody that's in shape when you see them walk in and they speak and you listen because you know that they're in control of their own life to some degree.
100%. That's something I've experienced for years. It's just when people see that you're in shape, the respect is there. I think it all boils down to people do know the hard work that goes into getting in shape, and a person who's got the characteristics to consistently show up and do the work like that, it's respected. Because I always say to people, if it was easy to be big and jacked and strong and in shape, if it was easy, then everybody would do it. There's a reason that it's pretty rare this day and age. So when you see it, it's respected. It's an instant, respect commanded. It's always there.
I absolutely love your content. It has inspired me a lot. I actually recently, I think I told you this the other day, but 2 days ago or 2 sessions ago, I started doing 2 sets instead of 3 sets because it just makes it a lot more novel to go from one thing to the next. And that 3rd set is kind of like, oh, okay, one more. But what I did was I lowered my ego, I lowered my weight, and I slowed everything down. And so now I'm ultra focused on form and I'm putting up less weight, but only I know that, right? I have to go back in my logs and the number's lower than last time, but I already feel it through 2 sessions. I felt like super sore after the first one because I was going so slow, especially on the negatives all the way down. So that is completely inspired by your profile. So yeah, just back to the beginning with the fundamentals. Like I love that approach to fitness. I love that approach to life. I love the way that you kind of just dove into content and made something out of nothing in a time when a lot of people curled up and played defense. You played offense. And so I just want to thank you for that. Thank you for coming on the show, Francis. Where can people find you online? Where do you want to point them? And I know you have a wait list going, but if you want to share anything about how they can work with you.
Yeah, so obviously, first thing, man, thanks for asking me on. I've enjoyed this, and I think we could definitely do it again in the future. But if anyone wants to find me, I've got Twitter is the main platform at Coach FHM. My YouTube is the same at Coach FHM, and Instagram is at Francis H Melia. And if anybody has any sort of coaching inquiries, you can find that on my website, which is www.francismelia.com. And there'll be a list of all my transformations that I've had with people, and a sign up link to a call, and we can go from there. But again, yeah, thanks for having me on, man. It's been fun.
Hope you enjoyed that episode. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. The bigger it gets, the bigger the guests, which means more valuable conversations for you. Also, make sure to check out the Pointing Up email list in the description to get early access to new episodes, plus exclusive answers to questions I ask the guests that don't make it into the show. See you soon.